Welcome to Wealth Hustle 247 podcast, your trusted guide to financial literacy, business innovation, and entrepreneurial success. Learn how to grow your wealth, make informed decisions, and turn your ideas into profitable ventures.
Welcome to today's podcast. We're discussing financial intelligence, revised edition. In this episode, we'll cover updated strategies and key insights on managing money wisely, growing wealth, and making smarter financial decisions. Tune in to boost your financial IQ and take control of your financial future.
Ever get that feeling like everyone else is fluent in finance except you? Like it's this secret club and you weren't given the password.
Oh, absolutely. I think we've all felt that way at some point.
Yeah, right. But what if I told you it's not some exclusive club? What if it's more like a superpower? Anyone can unlock this. And that's what we're diving into today with financial intelligence.
I like that. That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
And just like any superpower, it's not about memorizing every single detail. It's more about understanding the basic tools and knowing how to use them.
Okay, let's unpack that. The book jumps right into these things called financial statements. They sound kind of intimidating, but the way financial intelligence talks about them, they're more like, clues.
Yeah, exactly. Think of them as a company's vital signs, like a doctor would check. You've got your inquiry statements, you've got balance sheets, and then you've got cash flow statements.
Yeah.
And each one tells part of the story.
And the book actually teaches you how to read them. Because honestly, I once tried to decipher one of those reports, and I felt like I was trying to read hieroglyphics.
It really does.
Yeah.
And it does it in a way that makes you feel like you're not back in school. There's this one part where they break down how to calculate return on investment, ROI.
Right.
And they use this example of, wait for it, a bakery.
Okay.
The owner was trying to figure out if a new oven was worth the investment. And by using ROI, they could actually see that even though the oven was more expensive up front, it would pay for itself like within a year based on the increased production. That really made it click for me.
You see, that's what I'm talking about. Real life applications, not just abstract concepts. So we're not just talking about like deciphering some dusty corporate report. This is about empowering ourselves to make smarter financial decisions in all areas of life.
You got it.
Yeah.
Whether you're considering a new job or buying a house or just trying to figure out where your money goes each month, understanding these basic financial statements can really be a game changer.
So how do these statements actually work together? What are they each telling us about a company's financial health?
Well, let's start with the income statement. Essentially, it's a snapshot of a company's profitability over a specific period of time. Think of it like a movie showing how much money they made. That's the revenue. How much they spent. Those are expenses. And what's left over at the end. That's the profit. Or, in some cases, the loss.
Okay, so the income statement is all about the bottom line. Are they making money or not?
Precisely. But then we have the balance sheet, which is more like a snapshot in time. This shows what a company owns, their assets, what they owe to others, that's their liabilities, and what's left over for the owners. That's the equity.
So it's like a snapshot of their overall financial position at a specific moment. Like, are they in debt? Do they have a lot of cash on hand? That kind of thing.
Exactly. It's kind of like if you were to check under the hood of a car. The income statement tells you if the car is running, but the balance sheet, that tells you about the engine, the gas tank, all the crucial components.
Okay, so we've got the movie, we've got the snapshot under the hood. What about that third statement, the cash flow statement? What is that all about?
Think of it like this. The income statement might show that a company made a profit. Right. But did they actually collect that money yet? The cash flow statement tracks the actual movement of cash, both coming in and going out. It's like watching the money in action.
So if the income statement is like the highlight reel, the cash flow statement is like the behind-the-scenes documentary.
That's a great way to put it. It shows you how a company is actually using its cash to operate, to invest, to fund its growth.
This is fascinating stuff, but I have to admit, I am starting to feel a bit overwhelmed. It's a lot of numbers. It's a lot of jargon. How do we make sure that we're not getting lost in the weeds here?
That's where the real art of financial intelligence comes in. And that's something that financial intelligence really drives home. Because, you see, it's not enough to just read the numbers. We have to understand the story behind them. It's like the difference between, reading sheet music and actually hearing the music. The notes are important, but it's the interpretation that really brings it to life.
I love that. Okay, so how do we become better listeners of these financial statements? How do we get beyond just seeing the numbers and actually understand the story they're telling?
Financial intelligence has a lot of great advice on this. One thing it really emphasizes is asking the right questions.
Okay.
For instance, when you're looking at a company's revenue, you don't just want to focus on the total amount. Dig deeper. Ask yourself, where is this revenue coming from? Is it diversified across different products and services? Or are they relying on just one or two big hits?
So like a company that relies on a single product, they could be in trouble if that product goes out of style or if there's new competition.
Exactly. Financial intelligence actually uses this example of a tech company. They were entirely reliant on one smartphone. It was wildly popular. But then a competitor comes along with a newer, sleeker model, and suddenly their sales just plummeted.
Yeah.
Because they hadn't diversified. They had all their eggs in one basket.
Ouch. That's a cautionary tale if I've ever heard one. So diversification is key. And not just for our own investment portfolios, but also for the companies we're evaluating as well.
Absolutely. And it's not just about revenue either. When you're looking at those expenses, ask yourself, are they being managed well? Are there any red flags? Maybe the costs seem really high in a particular area. Or maybe there's a pattern of overspending on projects that just don't pan out.
So it's about looking for those hidden patterns and asking those tough questions, like being a financial detective.
Exactly. Financial intelligence gives you the magnifying glass and the fingerprint kit to analyze those statements. And the more you practice, the better you get at spotting those subtle clues.
This is kind of reminding me of that part in the book where they were talking about how financial data isn't always objective. It's like, even though we think of numbers as being black and white, there's actually a lot of interpretation that goes on behind the scenes, right?
You're hitting on a crucial point. Financial intelligence really challenges this idea that financial statements are perfectly objective. You have to remember they are created by humans. And humans make judgments, they make estimates, sometimes even assumptions, based on incomplete information.
So how do we cut through that subjectivity? How do we make sure that we're not just seeing what we want to see in the numbers?
By being aware of the potential biases. And again, by asking critical questions. For instance, the book talks about how different companies might actually record revenue in different ways, even for the same type of transaction.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Can you give me an example of that?
Sure. Let's say a company sells a subscription service.
Right. Yeah.
They might record all of that revenue up front, even though the customer is actually paying in installments over an entire year. Another company, they might choose to record that revenue gradually as each payment is received.
So even though both companies are essentially making the same deal, their financial statements could look very different, just based on how they choose to record that revenue.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to, like we were saying before, to really dig deeper. Don't just look at the top line numbers. Ask yourself, what assumptions were made when these statements were created? What might be missing from the picture?
Wow. This is making finance so much more interesting, but I have to admit, it's also a bit daunting. It feels like it requires this whole other level of critical thinking.
It does, but that's what makes it so empowering. The more questions you ask, the better equipped you'll be to actually assess a company's true financial health. And then you can make those smart decisions. And, the great thing is, these skills aren't just limited to analyzing companies. Financial intelligence shows you how to apply this same critical thinking to your own personal finances as well.
Okay. I love that. Let's talk about that. How can we actually use these concepts to make better financial decisions in our own lives?
Well, for starters, imagine you're up for a promotion at work or a raise. Instead of just hoping for the best, you can actually use your newfound financial intelligence to make a really compelling case for yourself.
Oh, you mean like using financial data to show your value to the company?
Exactly. Financial intelligence gives you the tools to do that. You can point to specific projects that you've worked on, analyze their ROI, show how your contributions have actually impacted the company's bottom line. It's about advocating for yourself with confidence, backed by solid data.
I love that. No more second guessing your worth. What about investing? That's always been a little intimidating for me.
Investing can definitely seem like a gamble. But with financial intelligence on your side, it becomes much more strategic. You'll be able to actually evaluate those investment opportunities with, a discerning eye. You'll be able to look beyond the hype, beyond the marketing and all the jargon, and you'll really understand those underlying financials. And remember those financial ratios we talked about.
Yeah.
Those become super useful when you're comparing different investment options.
So instead of just blindly following the crowd or even just relying on someone else's advice, you can actually make informed decisions yourself, based on your own analysis.
Precisely. And it's not just about picking stocks or bonds. This knowledge, can help you with all sorts of financial decisions. Buying a house
Yeah.
starting a business, even just like negotiating a better rate on a loan.
It's really about taking control of our financial destinies. But before we get like too far ahead of ourselves, I kind of want to go back to the workplace for a second. How can we use these concepts from the book to just be more effective in our everyday jobs, our roles, responsibilities, that kind of thing?
That's a great question. Even if you're not in, a finance-specific role, having a solid understanding of these financial principles, it can make you a much more valuable asset to your company, to your team. Like, let's say you're tasked with planning a new project.
Okay.
By using these concepts from financial intelligence, you can actually calculate the potential return on investment for that project, the ROI.
Right.
And you can actually present that analysis, to stakeholders.
Yep.
To justify the project, get funding.
So instead of just saying, hey, I think this is a good idea, you can back it up with concrete financial projections.
Exactly. And if you're involved in any kind of budgeting decisions, you can use your financial literacy to analyze how your department's doing, identify areas where you could save money, just make more strategic use of all those resources. You'll be able to speak the language of finance, which, honestly, can make you a much more effective manager and a better advocate for your team.
It's all about empowering ourselves, right? To be more confident, to be more strategic in how we make decisions, both professionally and personally.
Absolutely. Financial intelligence gives you the tools, gives you the knowledge to really take control of your financial well-being. It's about making informed choices that are aligned with your values, with your goals.
It sounds like it's not just about like crunching numbers. It's about understanding the why, the story those numbers are telling, and then using that knowledge to make those smarter choices.
Exactly. And the best part is, once you have this knowledge, you can apply it to so many different areas of your life. It's a really valuable skill set that just keeps on giving.
It's like financial intelligence is giving us this whole new language, one that helps us advocate for ourselves, decode the financial world around us, make decisions with our eyes wide open.
Yeah, it really is like learning a new language.
And just like any new language, I guess it takes practice to become fluent.
Exactly. Don't expect to become a financial whiz overnight. It's about taking it one step at a time, asking those questions, and not being afraid to really dive into those financial statements.
So don't just leave those company reports gathering dust. Don't let those investment brochures just pile up on the counter. Get in there and start deciphering them. Who knows, you might even enjoy it.
You might. And honestly, the more you use these tools, the more intuitive they become. It's like anything else. The more you practice, the more confident you'll feel.
So we got the tools. We're practicing our new language. But even with all that financial intelligence, we can't predict the future, right? I mean, there are always going to be unexpected events, things that we couldn't have planned for.
Oh, that's very true. Financial data, as insightful as it can be, it's still based on, past performance, current conditions. It can't account for every possible scenario.
So it's not like we're aiming for perfect foresight here. It's more about being adaptable, being ready to kind of adjust course when we need to.
Exactly. That's why, it's so important to cultivate these other essential skills alongside the financial literacy. Things like critical thinking, problem solving, being adaptable, even emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
These all play a role in navigating those, complexities of the financial world.
So financial intelligence gives us these amazing tools to decode the numbers. But it's not a crystal ball. We still need to bring our own judgment, our own intuition, and our ability to adapt to the table.
I couldn't agree more. It's about finding that balance between data-driven decision-making and having the flexibility to adjust our approach as needed. Because let's face it, the only constant is change, especially in the financial landscape.
It's like that quote, "The only certainty is uncertainty." Okay, that sounds a bit ominous, but I think the point is we can't control everything, but we can control how prepared we are. And this deep dive into financial intelligence has given us so much to think about, so many tools to work with.
It's a great foundation. But it's important to remember that financial literacy is a journey, not a destination. There's always more to learn, new trends to understand, new challenges to navigate.
So for those who are ready to continue on this journey, what other resources or strategies would you recommend? Besides reading Financial Intelligence, of course, which I highly recommend.
There are so many great resources out there. Beyond books, there are tons of online courses, webinars, podcasts, even financial blogs that can keep you up to date on all the latest trends and insights. And don't underestimate, just the power of conversation. Talking to financial advisors, mentors, or even friends and colleagues with financial expertise can be so valuable.
Yeah, it's like building your own personal board of financial advisors.
Exactly. And the more diverse your sources of information are, the more well-rounded your understanding will be.
I love that. So keep exploring, keep learning, keep those questions coming. And remember, financial empowerment is within your reach. That's all for this deep dive into financial intelligence. We'll catch you in the next episode.
That's it for today's episode of Wealth Hustle 247. Be sure to follow, like, comment, and share with others. Keep pushing toward your goals, and we'll see you in the next episode.